about his ancestors who lived through the aftermath of slavery. So we searched for clues about his father's side of the family. The paper trail that we uncovered confounded our expectations. Unlike most African Americans who were freed by the end of the Civil War, your ancestors weren't.
They couldn't get it right.
Well,
they just stuck to it.
Well, take a look at this.
Chickasaw Nation Freedmen Roll.
This document is an official enrollment card for the Chickasaw Freedmen, the former slaves owned by the Chickasaw Nation.
Owned by the Chickasaw Nation?
Owned by the Chickasaw Nation. Your ancestors were enslaved by Native Americans. Here's your great-great-grandmother, Mary Kemp, her 11 children, including Bill Cheadle, your great-grandfather, William. And you can see William's father, Henderson, or Hance Cheadle. You are one of the few African Americans who was not enslaved by white people, enslaved by Native Americans.
I don't know how I feel about that. It's crazy because
most people don't realize that the Cherokee, Creek, Seminole, Choctaw, and Chickasaw nations owned slaves. As self-governing entities, they weren't subject to the laws of the United States. So what did this mean for Don Cheadle's ancestors? When the Civil War ended, the 5 civilized tribes kept their slaves. They refused to liberate their slaves.
Everybody wanted to roll with the slavery thing as long as they could.
That's right. They said, come and get them.
Yeah. You got to take my slave. Pry it from my cold, dead hand.
And I had no idea.
I had neither. This is amazing.
The United States government didn't make a treaty with the Chickasaw until 1866, forcing them to liberate their slaves and make them citizens. The Chickasaws freed their slaves, but they did not offer them citizenship in the Chickasaw Nation.
Honorary white people, what's going on here?
Don, your ancestors were in Indian territory, yet they were neither Chickasaw nor were they Americans. They were a people without a country and without any legal status at all.
That's crazy.
The Chickasaw freedmen would spend decades in this stateless limbo, invisible and forgotten. By the time the century drew to a close, the United States government had turned its back on our people all over the South. But out west, where the Chickasaw freedmen had been living as stateless people for over 30 years, the status of Indian territory was about to change. In the late 1890s, the United States government drew up official rolls of the citizens and former slaves of the Native American nations. Don Cheadle's ancestors were among those who were ready to stand up and be counted. Your great-great-grandparents would have had to travel to Tishomingo, the capital of the Chickasaw Nation, in order to enroll. But it was a last chance for former slaves like your ancestors to claim Chickasaw identity. This is the land allotment records for Johnston County, Oklahoma.
Mary Kemp, Henderson Cheadle. So they got some land.
And the number of acres?
40. The fabled 40.
40 acres of land given to them free and clear by their former slaveholders. Can you imagine what this meant to your ancestors?
That's huge. That's economic freedom if you can farm it and work it and use it.
Yeah. Don, your ancestors suffered for decades as a people with no status at all. Yet in the end, they received something that other African Americans, as you know, only dreamed about.
They're 40 acres.
The vaunted 40 acres.
There it is.
And right down there where your ancestors had their homesteads, you can see the town of Wiley, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Now, Wiley was one of the all-black towns founded by former slaves.
So the whole town was free slaves?
Whole town, all black. Still, can you imagine what it was like for your ancestors to live through slavery finally get free, then be stateless for 30 years, and then find themselves suddenly landowners and landowners in an all-black town.
Yeah, amazing. It must have felt like finally,
Finally.
free at last, for real.